I swear, if that smug bastard had said one more word, I would have cracked his jaw so hard he'd never smirk again. We were at a dinner I didn't even want. Ashley, my wife, said it was important. I thought maybe she was finally ready to work on our marriage. Instead, I walked into an ambush. There he was, Chase Donovan, her colleague, already seated, wearing that tight black shirt like he was auditioning for a protein powder commercial, smirking like he owned the place. Ashley sat beside him, her hand just a little too close to his thigh, laughing too loud at whatever recycled joke he'd told. "Logan," she said sweetly, motioning to the empty seat across from them. "This is Chase. You've heard me mention him from work." Oh, I'd heard. Too often. The mentor, the inspiration, the guy who just gets her. I sat, forcing a smile. My fists were already clenched under the table. Then Chase leaned in, eyes locked on mine like we were in some sick poker match. "I'll make this simple," he said, voice smooth and rehearsed. "You've got two options, Logan. Leave quietly, or face me like a man." Ashley didn't flinch. She smiled. My ears rang. My heart slowed. He thought I'd just nod, walk away, let him play house with my wife. Instead, I smiled back. "You want your teeth whole or in pieces?" That's when I stood up, and the first domino fell. The next few minutes were a blur of broken plates, splattered wine, and Chase's fake alpha aura leaking out onto the restaurant floor. I didn't lose control. I just let him know I wasn't the kind of man you walk over without getting your shoes dirty. Security hauled me outside while Ashley dabbed at her white dress with a napkin, glaring like I was the one who'd embarrassed her. Not a flicker of shame, not even a hint of surprise. She'd brought me here to watch me lose. Standing in the cold, I realized something important. This wasn't the beginning of her affair. It was the curtain call. She'd been rehearsing this scene for months, maybe longer. When I got home, the air felt different. The walls still stood, the furniture was in place, but the house had the same energy as a hotel room you've overstayed in. Fake, empty, temporary. Her perfume lingered in the hallway, but underneath it was another scent. Muskier, arrogant. I went to our bedroom. The bed was made perfectly. Tight corners, smooth sheets. Ashley never made the bed like that. It was the kind of thing you see in a hotel. The kind of thing a man like Chase might think looks classy. That's when I knew. I wasn't suspicious anymore. I was certain. And once you're certain, you stop looking for answers and start looking for leverage. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat at the dining table, replaying every late meeting, every girl's night, every sigh she gave me when I tried to close the distance between us. Around 2 a.m., my hand stopped shaking and I got up. If I was going to play this game, I was going to win it. Her tablet was on the vanity, no passcode. She thought I trusted her too much to check. She was wrong. The first photo I opened nearly caved my chest in. Ashley, barely dressed, taking mirror selfies in a hotel bathroom I didn't recognize. Timestamp, last weekend. She'd told me she was in Sacramento for a baby shower. Another swipe. There he was. Chase, shirtless, brushing his teeth in the background like he'd been living there all his life. There were videos, voice notes, his deep tone calling her my little secret, her giggling like a teenager. One message read, "He still thinks we're going through a rough patch. Poor baby, poor baby." I copied every file. Photos, messages, receipts. Dropped them into a folder on a flash drive I labeled June Justice, a habit from my work days. That drive went into the small oak box in my desk. I'd carved that box myself once, planning to give it to her for our anniversary. Now, it was the vault for the truth she thought she'd buried. I didn't plan to confront her yet. Not until I could turn that truth into something sharp enough to cut her life in half. And believe me, when I'm patient, I'm dangerous. By sunrise, I'd already had 3 cups of coffee and a plan that tasted better than any caffeine I'd ever sipped. Ashley was still upstairs, no doubt tangled in the same sheets she'd smoothed with hotel-like precision. I didn't wake her. I wanted her to have one more peaceful morning. Because soon, she'd be living in a world where peace was a ghost. The first step was simple: redundancy. If there's one thing I've learned from business, it's that important files live in 3 places. One in plain sight, one in the cloud, one somewhere no one would think to look. The plain sight copy stayed in the oak box. The cloud version went to a locked folder on my encrypted drive, accessible only through a burner email I'd set up years ago for, well, let's just call them sensitive negotiations. And the third? That one got tucked inside an unmarked manila envelope and slid between two dusty binders labeled 2015 tax returns in my garage. No one, and I mean no one, voluntarily goes through old tax paperwork. Once my digital fortress was built, it was time to bait the hook. At 8:17 a.m., Ashley wandered into the kitchen in yoga pants and a messy bun, scrolling her phone. "Morning," she said, pouring coffee like we were the kind of couple that talked about the weather. "Morning," I replied, handing her a slice of toast. Casual, polite, almost warm. She glanced up, maybe a little surprised I wasn't still simmering about last night. "You're not upset?" she asked. "About dinner?" "No. Chase just caught me on a bad night." I took a slow bite of my toast. We all make mistakes. Her lips curled in that half smirk that had once charmed me and now just made my knuckles itch. "Glad to hear it," she said, taking her coffee upstairs. Phase 2, the wiretap. No, not the cloak and dagger kind. I'm not out here with earpieces and van surveillance. I mean the tech equivalent of a fishing line. You throw it in, forget about it, and one day, you come back to find something thrashing at the end. Ashley's iCloud login had been the same for years. She reused the same two passwords for everything. Her old cat's name and her high school mascot. I'd known it for ages. One quick login from my laptop, and suddenly I had access to her text messages, call logs, photo backups. The beauty of it was, she'd never notice. She thought the cloud was just for saving space on her phone. By lunch, I had everything syncing automatically to a hidden folder on my desktop. Every message she sent to Chase or anyone else from that point forward would quietly download into my hands. That night, I stayed in my home office under the guise of catching up on work. What I was really catching up on was just how careless she'd become. 8:41 p.m., Chase. "Tomorrow?" "Same place as last week." 8:43 p.m., Ashley. "Absolutely. Wear the black shirt. You know the one." Same black shirt he'd been wearing at dinner. She was practically writing my script for me. I didn't reply, obviously, but the trap wasn't just about proof anymore. The proof was for lawyers. The trap was for her pride. The next day, I made my first real move. "Ash," I called from the hallway. "My buddy Tom has a cabin near Lakeview. He's letting me use it for the weekend. You should come." Her face flickered, 1 second of hesitation so quick most men would have missed it. "Oh, I can't. I promised Lacey I'd help her with her baby shower planning." Of course she did. I kept my face neutral. "Fair enough. I'll take Noah for some fishing." "Perfect," she said, kissing my cheek. The same cheek that had been burning with her lies for months. Friday evening, I dropped Noah off at my sister's place. She'd been briefed, told him we'd go next time, no questions asked. Then I drove straight to the address from Ashley's hotel receipt. The Burstone Inn. I knew that place. Lavender air freshener, overpriced wine, the faint smell of old carpet no matter how much they renovated. I didn't go inside. Not yet. Instead, I parked across the street, camera ready. At 8:12 p.m., I saw them. Ashley in a red dress I'd never seen, Chase in that same black shirt. They walked in arm, laughing. Click. Another angle. Click. I didn't feel jealousy. I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt the calm, methodical focus of a man building something heavy enough to crush the person who thought they'd already destroyed him. Saturday morning, I called my lawyer, Marcus. "Think you can clear your schedule for Monday?" I asked. "You finally ready?" "Past ready." Marcus chuckled. "Then let's make it hurt." By Monday, I had photos of Ashley and Chase entering the hotel, screenshots of their texts arranging the meetup, proof she'd paid for the room with our joint account, bank statements showing transfers to a separate account in her name over the last 6 months. When I slid the flash drive across Marcus's desk, he whistled low. "This is a clean kill," he said. "Good," I replied, "because I'm not just walking away. I'm taking the floor out from under her." The beauty of revenge isn't in the moment you deliver it. It's in the days leading up to it, when your target has no idea the ground they're standing on is already crumbling. Ashley still thought she was in control. She still thought I was licking my wounds while she pranced around in her little fantasy. That night, she asked if I could transfer money from our savings to her personal account for car repairs. I smiled, told her I'd handle it tomorrow. Tomorrow, she'd find that account frozen. And that, my friend, would just be the opening note of the symphony. By Tuesday morning, the first hairline fracture had appeared. Ashley was at the kitchen counter, robe loose, sipping her coffee while scrolling her phone. I could tell by the stiffness in her shoulders that something had already gone wrong. "You okay?" I asked casually, buttering my toast. She glanced up, forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Just a banking glitch. I'll call them later." I nodded, pretending to be only half listening. "Yeah, those systems get weird sometimes." But we both knew it wasn't a glitch. I'd had Marcus freeze her just-in-case account yesterday. She wouldn't be moving a dime without a conversation she wasn't prepared for. The next few days were my favorite kind of waiting game. The one where you're not stalling, you're watching. Ashley was restless. She checked her phone more often, left the room to take calls, stayed out later than usual. She thought she was hiding it well. By Thursday night, she'd reached her breaking point. I was in my home office, reading an email from Marcus about the property division draft, when she barged in without knocking. "Logan, do you know anything about my bank account?" I swiveled my chair slowly, as if the thought had just occurred to me. "Your account?" "No, what?" Her eyes narrowed. "Because it's frozen, and the bank says it's for pending legal action. Which makes no sense unless." "Unless what?" I asked, leaning back. She hesitated. "Unless someone's trying to make my life difficult." I tilted my head. "Why would anyone want to do that, Ash?" She scoffed, turning on her heel. "Forget it." The sound of her footsteps down the hall was better than any applause I'd ever earned in my life. Friday morning, I set the next piece in motion. While Ashley was out shopping, I logged into her iCloud backup again. A new string of messages popped up between her and Chase. "Chase, you sure he's not onto us?" "Ashley, he's clueless. Just moody lately." "Chase, well, tell him soon. I don't like sneaking." "Ashley, patience. I'm lining things up so I walk away clean." I saved the thread, date stamps and all. Clean was a generous choice of words. You can't call it clean when you're standing in quicksand. That weekend, I played the part of the oblivious husband to perfection. I even made her breakfast on Sunday. Eggs, toast, coffee, like we were still some cozy suburban cliché. "This is nice," she said, sipping her mug. "It is," I agreed. "You know, we should take a trip. Somewhere warm." Her fork paused midair. "Now." "Why not?" I smiled. "Life's short." She forced a laugh. "I'll think about it." I knew she wouldn't. That was the point. I wanted her brain juggling a dozen possibilities, none of them correct. Monday was the day I let the second crack appear. Marcus sent an official notice to her employer, a simple letter informing them of pending divorce proceedings and a request to preserve any work-related communications. Standard legal maneuver. But when you're having an affair with a coworker, standard suddenly feels like the guillotine. That evening, Ashley stormed into the living room. "Why would your lawyer contact my work?" "Because it's part of the process," I said evenly. "Anything that could be relevant gets preserved." Her jaw clenched. "You're trying to humiliate me." I shook my head. "No, I'm trying to be thorough. You always said I was detail-oriented." She glared, then walked away muttering something under her breath. I didn't ask her to repeat it. I was too busy enjoying the sight of her armor starting to dent. Over the next week, I turned the screws without ever raising my voice. First, the joint credit card was canceled, Marcus's suggestion. Then, a routine audit of our home's deed revealed that the property title had been quietly adjusted in my favor months ago. She didn't notice at the time. She noticed now. Her mood swings became erratic. She'd go from icy silence to fake cheer in the span of an hour. She texted more, deleted more. I still saw it all. By the following Thursday, Chase entered the chat. Not the literal one, but my game. I'd arranged for a mutual friend, someone Chase didn't know was loyal to me, to mention over drinks that Logan seems different lately. Calmer. Like he knows something. By Saturday, their messages told me everything. "Chase, what's going on? Is he following you?" "Ashley, no. He's just weird. Like he's waiting for something." "Chase, maybe we should lay low." "Ashley, relax. I've got it under control." Control. That word almost made me laugh out loud. She still believed she was steering this ship. Sunday night, I sat at my desk, reviewing the timeline I'd built. Dates, receipts, texts, photos, all arranged in perfect order. Not one gap. Not one flaw. The evidence was enough to end her marriage, her job, and her little fantasy life in one move. But I wasn't going to make one move. I was going to make a sequence. A chain reaction so clean she wouldn't realize she'd lost everything until the last domino hit the floor. The final piece was scheduled for Friday at 6 p.m. Marcus would file the divorce petition at 9 a.m., delivering copies to her work and our home. By the time she walked through the door after work, she'd have been served twice, once by a process server, once by her HR department. And just in case she thought she could run to Chase for comfort, I'd arranged for an anonymous email, complete with our little photo collection, to be sent to his supervisor. Not out of spite, but because I needed him busy putting out his own fires while she stood alone in the smoke. That week, I slept like a man on vacation. Ashley, meanwhile, tossed and turned. She didn't know when it was coming, but she knew something was. And that was almost as satisfying as the finale I had planned. Almost. Friday morning arrived without ceremony. No storm clouds, no cinematic rays of sunlight. Just the quiet hum of the fridge and the faint scent of the coffee I'd brewed before she woke. I was at the table reading the paper when Ashley came down the stairs, heels clicking, hair done just enough to look effortless. She didn't bother with a good morning. She'd stopped trying to sell the small talk marriage months ago. 9:03 a.m. Right on cue. A knock at the door. Ashley frowned, still slipping on her coat. Expecting someone? I shook my head. She opened the door. There stood a man in a neat suit holding a clipboard and a cream envelope. "Mrs. Ward," he asked. "Yes. You've been served." He handed her the envelope, tipped his head politely, and walked back to his car. Her confusion turned to outrage in 3 seconds flat. "You had me served at home?" she snapped, spinning toward me. I folded the paper. "Better here than at work." "You're unbelievable." She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the blinds and stormed into the kitchen. She didn't open the envelope. She didn't have to. What she didn't know, not yet, was that Marcus had arranged for her HR department to receive an identical packet an hour before lunch. When she got there, she'd be greeted by the warm, corporate smile of someone who's legally obligated to act concerned while mentally calculating your exit package. And what she really didn't know was that at 11:15 a.m., an anonymous email would land in Chase's boss's inbox. It would contain 3 attachments. Photo of Ashley and Chase entering the Burstone Inn. Hotel receipt in Ashley's name, paid from our joint account. Screenshot of there, where the black shirt, text exchange. The subject line would read, "Thought you should be aware of workplace conduct." I didn't need to ruin Chase out of jealousy. I just needed him radioactive for the next few weeks. Couldn't have him swooping in to play hero when she finally realized how alone she was. By noon, I got the first ping on my phone. A message from a friend inside her company. "Friend, your wife just left HR." She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Good. The first domino had tipped. At 2:27 p.m., another update. This one from my Cloud Sync folder. A text from Ashley to Chase. "Ashley, we need to talk. Today." Chase, "Not a good time." Ashley, "What's going on?" Chase, "I can't explain right now. Just keep your head down." Perfect. The second domino was wobbling. By 5:48 p.m., I heard her car in the driveway. I was in the living room, laptop open, looking entirely too relaxed for a man whose marriage had just detonated on paper. She came in slow, almost cautious. Coat over her arm, envelope still in hand. "What did you do?" Her voice was tight, not furious. "Afraid." I closed the laptop. "Filed for divorce." "You didn't even," she caught herself, took a breath. "Why now?" I shrugged. Seemed like the right time. Her eyes narrowed. "You think you're being clever? You think you've got something on me?" I met her stare. "I don't think, Ashley. I know." That's when I reached for the oak box on the side table. I placed it between us and opened the lid. Inside, the flash drive. "This," I said, "is the short version. There's a longer one in my lawyer's office, another in a safe deposit box. I have copies of every text, every hotel bill, every transfer you made to your personal account." Her face drained of color. "You've been spying on me." "No," I said evenly. "I've been documenting you." She sat down, eyes darting like a cornered animal. "What do you want?" That was the moment I'd been waiting for. Not the anger, not the accusations, but the question. The question meant she finally knew she wasn't steering this anymore. "I want what I've already arranged," I said. "The house stays with me. The joint savings stays with me. You walk away with your car, your clothes, and whatever you can carry in 2 suitcases." Her jaw dropped. "That's not how this works." I smiled. "It is when your lawyer's opening move will be damage control instead of negotiation." She laughed, a short, brittle sound. "You think this scares me?" I'll survive without you. I nodded. You might, but you'll do it without your job. HR's aware. Chase's boss is aware. I'm sure you can explain the whole black shirt thing in the exit interview. The laugh died in her throat. We sat in silence for a long moment. She was calculating, running through the dwindling list of exits she thought she had left. I let her. The quiet was part of the punishment. Finally, she stood. You'll regret this. No, I said. You will. An hour later, she was upstairs, yanking clothes from hangers, muttering under her breath. I could hear the zippers of suitcases, the thud of shoes hitting the floor. I didn't go up. I just sat there, sipping coffee, scrolling through her cloud sync one last time. At 7:12 p.m., one final text came through from Chase. Chase, I think we should cool things off. Too much heat right now. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. By 8 p.m., she was gone. 2 suitcases, no goodbye. The house felt different immediately. Quieter. Lighter. I put the oak box back in its drawer. Not as a trophy, as a reminder. Because revenge isn't about rage. It's about balance. And by the time the last domino fell, the balance was perfect. The first week without Ashley was eerily quiet. No heels on hardwood. No perfume in the hallway. No sighs from the kitchen when I didn't load the dishwasher right. Some men say the silence after a breakup is the worst part. For me, it was bliss. I didn't check on her. Didn't ask mutual friends how she was doing. The game was over, or at least, she thought it was. I still had one more card face down on the table. Marcus called on Wednesday. She's got a lawyer now. They're not thrilled with the conditions. I laughed. They can be as unthrilled as they want. The documents aren't conditions, they're conclusions. Exactly, Marcus said. But Alex. It's Logan, I corrected. Right, sorry. Just make sure you're ready for her to push back hard. I was. She could push all she wanted. Her leverage was gone before she even knew the game had started. 2 weeks later, I got the first sign she'd been circling back. An email, not to me, but to my work account. We need to talk. I think we can handle this without dragging it out. I didn't reply. Silence is a language, and I speak it fluently when I want someone to feel small. A day after that, a mutual acquaintance accidentally let slip that Chase was no longer at her company. HR said something about professional boundaries sounded bad, she said. I nodded, feigning surprise. Huh, wonder what happened. Ashley was learning the 2 worst lessons at the same time. Losing your job hurts, and losing your fallback man hurts worse. I knew she was desperate when she showed up at the house unannounced. I opened the door to find her standing there with a cautious smile, makeup done but eyes tired. Can we talk? We are talking, I said, leaning on the doorframe. Her smile faltered. I made mistakes, but I think we can work something out. And by work something out you mean what? I give you a softer landing in exchange for pretending the last year didn't happen. Her voice cracked. Logan, I have nothing right now. I'm living in a sublet. My savings are tied up in legal fees. Chase, she stopped herself, but I let her twist. You think I care where you land, Ashley? You burned the bridge, and then you salted the ground under it. She exhaled, and for the first time, she didn't look angry. She looked scared. What do you want from me? I smiled. Nothing. That's the point. A month later, the divorce was final. She kept her car, her clothes, and a dented suitcase of whatever she could carry. I kept everything else. That's when I made my last move. The one she never saw coming. The one that wasn't about money or property at all. Remember the joint charitable fund we'd set up years ago? The one she'd bragged about at dinner parties as proof of what a generous couple we were? She'd forgotten all about it. It was still funded, a tidy little sum, just shy of 6 figures. And legally, since I was the sole remaining account holder, I could direct it anywhere I wanted. I donated every penny to a local women's shelter. In her name. The press release went out 2 days later. Former realtor donates generously to support women escaping toxic relationships. Her phone must have lit up like a Christmas tree. Old clients, friends, reporters asking for a quote. She couldn't refuse without looking like the worst kind of hypocrite. She had to smile and nod and accept the praise, all while knowing it wasn't generosity. It was me, standing in the background, reminding her she'd been reduced to a footnote in my story. The money was gone. The reputation she thought she controlled was now tied to a cause she couldn't fake her way through. And the best part? Every time someone thanked her for her compassion, she'd have to remember who actually wrote the check. I didn't need her ruined in the tabloids. I didn't need her bankrupt. I just needed her to live every day with the reminder that I finished what she started, and I finished it on my terms. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's quiet. It's permanent. And it's signed in someone else's name.